Dear listener, in this episode, we're talking about strategies for processing through childhood trauma. While Emily and I have experience delving into our own childhood traumas, please be aware we are not licensed mental health psychologists. Listen with care, and if it's too much, it's okay. Maybe skip this one. Be kind to yourself, and we'll be here when you come back. This week, we're talking about taking our kid selves by the hand and walking through some of our most painful memories, as well as challenging some of our harmful beliefs, but this time with the support, wisdom, and love of our grown up selves.
I'm Emily Hatch.
And I'm Carrie Schaefer, and this is Honestly, Dear Listener.
Honestly, dear listener.
Woo! Hello, friends. How's everybody's Friday going? Emily, how's your Friday going?
So far, so good. Busy, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What a week.
Yeah, right? I have something to talk with you about. I keep having dreams practically every single night. I dream about former houses that I've lived in.
Hey, dear listener, editing Carrie here. I go into a very lengthy and somewhat confusing explanation of what I'm talking about here. Here's the concise version. I keep dreaming about my childhood homes, and each time I do, it always feels like something is wrong or missing, or I'm not totally at ease being there, so it's never happy memories. I think my childhood houses are a metaphor here for me as a kid and the unrest I felt in my identity, body, and my mind. So, kind of just like the houses were calling me back to them, memories are calling to me to be revisited or reworked. Okay, I just spared you at least 5 minutes of me verbally processing around. You're welcome. Okay, back to the episode.
This dreaming about houses is the universe's or creativity's invitation to explore earlier memories of uncertainty or vulnerability or feelings like I'm not safe, etc., with my younger self, with the wisdom of my older self with it. Like the two of us, I mean the one of us because they're both me, but my younger self and my older self walk through memories together that are painful, and the older self can help the younger self process through the pain or the instability or whatever it is of that memory in a way that we can kind of we can change the whole energy and the whole feeling around that memory, which is kind of this beautiful way that we have of being able to work with our neuroplasticity and help to heal ourselves. So I was like, yes, universe, yes, let's do it. So I'm bringing that to the table today. I've done this before where I've walked through memories with my younger self, and it has been so impactful. And it's almost like I can be like, yeah, I don't have to keep reliving that memory. Because do you find your brain replaying and reliving painful memories from the past?
Sometimes, yeah. And I think it's potentially like more than I realize, but because I think sometimes it's subconscious that you're kind of like going to a place where someone told you you couldn't do something, or someone, like I think our blocks are probably memories. So, yes, I can think of a couple. And also, like, I can probably think of instances that are affected by memories that I am not consciously thinking of. Does that make sense? This is
Yeah.
like some deep subconscious stuff. I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you know, because we're neither of us like, psychiatrists or psychologists, but is this the basis behind like EMDR kind of?
Ooh, that I can't speak to. For anyone that doesn't know what EMDR is, I don't even remember what it stands for, but it's basically where you are you have either pulsing things in your right and left hand, or you're looking from the right to the left to the right to the left, and it's in kind of like activating both sides of the brain. You are kind of able to maybe draw up memories that you didn't you were unaware of, because it's all stored in our brains.
Mm-hmm.
It's our inability to recall it or reaccess it that it can be the issue. And so I guess in some way the pulsing or the activating of the left and right hemispheres of the brain helps you reattach to those memories or reaccess those memories. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if this has, I mean, I'm sure it all relates in some way, but I can't speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I was just curious because it seems like kind of reprocessing
mhm,
like traumatic events, and then but having it be that you could heal that,
right.
rather than just bringing it up for the hell of it.
I could see
Just kidding.
how
Sorry.
this idea of, like walking through painful memories with yourself now, with your younger
Mm-hmm.
self, coupled with EMDR would be super helpful,
Mm-hmm.
I would think. Because you have somebody safe with you to walk through the memory with you, and you have your
Mm-hmm.
kind of the wisdom of your older self to help you process, because the younger self doesn't have, I mean, I didn't have the processing and the emotional capacity to understand what was going on at 8 as I do
Mm-hmm.
at 40.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think this connects. So to me, like, so we were talking about we're doing the artist way class. So I'd imagine over the next 3 months, we're going to be chatting about the good and weird shit that comes up for us
Mhm.
as we're going through this. And the chapter, this, don't worry, this isn't going to be the class or book club here. But uh, this week, we're talking about memories of perhaps like people or events that told you you couldn't do something, um as a creative, like someone said this to you as a child, you or did whatever, you internalized that and then kind of built a belief
Mm.
about yourself and your shortcomings based off of that person, usually like in authority, right,
Mhm.
over you. And so like, do you feel like that's kind of like the connection a little bit to
Yeah.
like maybe that's been coming up and it's subconsciously your brain's showing you like these houses
Mhm.
to, I think that's really, it's a cool thing. Brains are so
Brains are
interesting.
amazing. And
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone, because I grew up the first part of my life feeling like, we're just the way we are and people just don't really change all that much. And then to hear so much and learn so much about neuroplasticity, our abilities to change our brains. And this is not some like, woo, like our minds or some kind of like, I'm talking actual physical structures in the brain that can be changed. And so according to science, we have the ability to change our brains, which is so cool and really, really hopeful. And it makes me feel like, I am not bound by the crap that happened in my past.
Mm-hmm.
I can transcend that. Of course, I'll always have those memories, but I can use those.
Mm.
Yeah. So, Emily, I feel like this topic is important for creatives, in that I'm sure so many of us and our listeners have been told things in our childhoods about our creativity
Mm-hmm.
that we've believed, negative things, or even, positive things, like things that were said over you, like the prophecy, that um, you had as a child that maybe felt like too much pressure, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that's the connection for creatives, is that
Yeah,
we don't
totally.
have to be held back by the things that people say. Has anyone ever said anything to you in your childhood that you feel like kind of has calcified into a belief?
Um, I mean, I was literally just thinking about this stuff this morning. I think there are so many, like, that's what makes up our experiences as like our mushy brain selves, or what forms our opinions of ourselves right now. I'm frustrated by the fact that I have considered myself to be a very aware person of like how I am and what I'm doing, and then I recently am realizing that I really am not, which is kind of hilarious and ironic. And I think that actually is probably true of every human, that
Mm-hmm.
that we are trying so hard to be like extremely aware of all of our weird shit so we can like help ourselves. And then we kind of wake up at different increments and go, "Oh, I that's not a thing." Okay, cool. I have no actual insight to myself that I've been feeling like that lately. Anyway, um,
That
I
probably
think
means you're
like
more self-aware than you realize.
or self-conscious, and it's not that helpful. Like, I don't know. So I think that was a long, weird way of saying, yeah, I think that it's been implied, like the pressure thing, it's been implied that I'm a singer
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I have to do. Which sounds like you said, like that's a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's driven a lot of my life, but it's actually, I think, like made me feel guilty if I want to do anything else. So
Yeah.
like that's weird, right? I also remember like I have many memories of being we were really poor growing up, and I've been thinking about this a lot. This is some deep shit. But like instances where I was like told not to ask for something because we don't want people to like feel like we're poor, so we can't
Mm.
like ask for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh and so now I can see where that like I feel poor all the time and
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid to like need anything from anyone. And I'm not talking like, I need you to lend me some money. But I mean, even just like attention or a thing that's like,
Mm.
hey, would you be willing to talk to me about this thing? I feel guilty even asking for anything because
Mm-hmm.
as I was a kid and my parents were trying to protect us, you know, like as a family, it was like, don't appear to need anything. You're
Yeah.
not you're not hungry right now. If people ask you if you want something to eat, you tell them no. You know, nope, nope. I don't need help. I don't need anything. You know, so I think that has informed.
Mm-hmm.
I am poor, even if I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
but I am. I'm poor, and I can't ask for anything.
Mm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, those are some interesting memories. Like I have some solid, vivid memories of those things. What about you? What's your like, you know, what is your houses as you're
Mm-hmm.
like combing through the purpose of this?
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't really remember anyone telling me, "Kid, you're no good at this." You know, like in the traditional sense. And I don't remember that. What I do remember is forming beliefs about the world inside. I remember being this like they called me, I don't know why. Kids are so weird, but they were like, Carrie from Boston, because she's so bossy. And I remember like just being this very kind of unaware, brash, but vivacious, like here are my thoughts and here's what I think and here's da 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 da, like very confident in what I thought and what I was doing and where I was going. And I remember, I think it was probably, I want to say like second or third grade. I remember having this awareness of like, oh, people don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to feel bossed. which makes sense. I don't want to be bossed. So that tracks. But also I I I remember swinging the other way where it was like, okay, so if having strong, big opinions and feelings and all of this stuff is bad and people don't like you, then I'm going to do just the opposite. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to be secretive and I'm going to pull all of myself inside and
Mm.
I'm going to say, and I remember saying this to myself all the time, I'm Carrie Kristen King and there's no one in the world better than me. And that was my mantra growing up. It was like, and now I look back and I go, oh, you were insecure. Your
Mm.
self concept got torn down and your confidence, I felt like my self-confidence got ripped out from underneath me. And instead of kind of being like, okay, let's be gentle, I just went completely in the opposite direction and was like,
Hmm.
fine, then I'm just going to take all of it inward and I'm going to kind of gird up my loins or batten down the hatches with this idea of like, I'm fine. No one in the world is better than me. And
Mm.
which sure, maybe that is the case, but also you're not better than anyone else in the world. But that realization didn't come until later. And I remember people being like, um, I had more friends when I was kind of this more insecure, um, less opinionated. Like I remember being on trips. This wasn't even that long ago with friends and them being like, okay, it's your turn to play music in the car. And I was like, nope, I don't have an opinion. And they were like, put your nickel in the machine. It's your turn. And I was like, no, it's fine. Because there's this fear in my head. If I make a definitive decision, I might not be liked for it. So I'm
Mm.
just going to defer to what everyone else wants, and that's
Mm.
safer.
Uh, this is so relatable to, like, for me. And I would imagine a lot of women
Mhm.
that are in like even like performance kind of things or like are good at creating things because again, not to exclude our non-lady population, but I do think women get a real bad rap for being confident and get
Mhm.
immediately like society is like shut up,
Right.
and other gals are like we're not supposed to do that, stop, you know.
Right.
So no, I relate to that so hard, and it's like so many memories of my childhood where people being mad at me for being good at something or
Mhm.
like, and I was pretty outspoken and sassy uh for a long time, and I do think now my 40-year-old self is constantly apologetic because I
Mhm.
am trying to be like, I think I've said this analogy before, but it's one of my favorites. Do you know um dogs like that are trying to show that they're not like a threat, how they just like lay down and open their legs and are like, smell my butthole, I'm not mad at you. uh like, I think I have, with apologies and not
Mhm.
deciding exactly what I want all the time,
Mhm.
that's my version of smell my butthole, I'm not a threat, you know.
Right.
um so like I will have an opinion and say a thing and then immediately be like, they need to smell your butthole. Like, we have no bad intent.
Right.
Uh, smell my butthole, America. Just kidding.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, that's amazing.
but yeah, like, I think I've trained myself out of
Mhm.
appearing to be the authority on something or be confident in something or like, I can't think I'm good at it.
Mhm.
So I think I've internalized that, right? And been like, pull back, pull back, pull back to the point that then I don't know if I even think I am good at that.
Right.
Like, do I have an opinion about music?
Mhm.
You know, like, Or am I actually at this point, it's like the lines get blurred. I don't know if you relate to this, but it's like you've been convincing yourself that you shouldn't have an opinion for so long
Mm-hmm.
that you sometimes wonder if you do have one.
Yep. And then when you rehabilitate or you start to kind of wake up to that, then you go, I don't even know what I like. What do I
Yep.
like? Because just when I'm like, oh, I like that thing, I'm like, oh, but do I like that? I don't even know if I like that. Ooh, who am
Mhm.
I? What
Mm.
where's my identity?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I think this is so I think it's so the black and white stuff like we've talked about. Then if I become someone who has an opinion, then I'm gonna be like full on narcissist. That's
Right.
it. It's
Mhm.
either I think about
Mhm.
myself constantly and no one can get in, or here's my butthole.
Okay, I'm just going to say here's my butthole never gets old. Like oh gosh. So then uh, what I find helpful then is to we pull up what the belief is. Like you said earlier, I am poor. Poor obviously is bad. That's another belief that's and also maybe to um I don't want anyone to know that I'm poor.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do all these other things. I think some of my beliefs were and are um having friends is really important, which I would agree. Having friends is important. But then second belief being you won't have friends or people don't like for you to be too big
Mhm.
or too opinionated or to have an opinion maybe or to be too loud or to be too bossy, which bossiness is not a bad thing all the
It's
time.
leadership.
It's leadership. Yeah. And so I can't be my full self in front of people because if I do, I will not have friends.
So when you're walking through your house,
Mm-hmm.
your memory that you feel like is linked to that,
Mm-hmm.
like, does it take you time to find those? Like, where did that belief come from? Do
Mm-hmm.
you have that, like, a moment for you where that, like, is definitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like did it take you time to to find it? Like, or does your brain kinda go like, "Oh, if I feel like this, it's probably that." Does it go really quick for you that you figure out what the memory is?
Um, I think like you're asking like where do you access painful memories or like where do
That
you
could
go
be
to?
attached to that,
Uh-huh.
like, belief.
I go back and I in my mind and I think I don't know. I sit there and I ask my mind find something. Find something that is like I almost use my body as the guide
Mm,
because I think, pain especially as a child I feel like is so attached to our bodies and our bodies remember and there's like a real wisdom in our bodies. So I almost sit with my body and say, take me back to
mm,
a place. And I mean, it's like popcorn, like ding, 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 ding.
mm,
And you just pull one down and go, oh my gosh, and then we walk through the memory together. So what I would do and what I've done in the past when I've kind of walked through these memories is that I replay what happened and I identify, okay, this is the belief. And I try and make it into one sentence. So the sentence in this would probably be little girls who or women or people or whatever you want to say People whose opinions are too big or whose personality is too big or too loud don't have friends, and that's bad.
Mm.
And then I replace it with something, and this takes some time. This isn't just like this is just a 5-minute exercise. Like sometimes it's hard to figure out what the underlying belief is, but I try and get all the way to the root, right?
Mm.
So once I find that elemental tap root of what I think that belief is, then I say, okay, what do I want to replace this with? And then I ask my younger self, like, what do you want instead? Like, what feels better? And then as kind of a team, the younger her and the older her, me, we kind of have a meeting, and informed by the older version of myself, and we come up with a statement that I would like to replace that with.
Mm.
And then I say, okay, if that was my statement, my new statement might be, little girls who have big personalities are valid and needed and necessary. And I'm just going to go with that. So maybe then she and I, we walk through that painful memory together with that new statement.
Mm.
And maybe we replay it slowly. Maybe and that's the cool thing about memory, is that we can choose how fast we play through the memory, whether we want it in slow motion because we need more time to process through each moment, or we can play it backwards, or we can play it frontward. Like, we have choices here. We have agency. And then we kind of just like marinate and let that memory kind of hang with that new understanding. And it takes some time. Sometimes our brain needs time to be like, oh, yeah, okay. And every single time it comes up where I think about that memory, I go, oh, but yeah, remember that new awareness or that new way of playing through the memory. And then I'll play through it that way.
Mm. That's cool.
So for your example of the poor example, then what would you, if you were walking through that with little Emily, what would the statement be that you would want to replace that with?
There's so much like wrapped up in that too, that I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's like wasn't prepared to, not in like a weird way, but wasn't prepared to workshop this idea today.
Totally.
Uh
And you don't have to right now if you're like, is this too much?
No, it's so the thing is, to me, like I was thinking about how much, again, our religious upbringing affects that. So my parents being pastors of a very small church, we had no money, and it was romanticized to be poor.
Right.
Jesus was poor as fuck. There's a quote. And
Oh gosh.
all of these poor people romanticize being poor. And it is even in scripture that rich people are the villain, right? They're the tax collector that's trying to take something from you. The rich can't get into heaven. It is easier for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to inherit the kingdom of heaven.
Yep.
Look at how heavy that shit is. Yet they're like, we have these people with all this money. So, okay, I'm getting into a little soapbox, but I'll be back.
Get it.
So all of these like mega churches are run off of the backs of people who believe being poor is good, and they give it away. It's in the Bible. Give all you possess. Right?
Yep.
And then they tell you being rich is bad.
And then you'll be rewarded in so much as you have given. So like, give your whole paycheck.
Right. So now let's look at the Vatican. Let's look at Joel Osteen and all these people
Yep.
who are rich. Why is that bad? Like for me, but not bad for them.
Right.
So it would be hard for me, I think, to track. I mean, my parents were the chumps because we weren't capitalizing on it. We were a part of it. We were the people who believed that being poor was a virtue. So that's huge. I'm discovering that literally right now. So how could I like undo all of that? I don't know, but I do think it has to do with valuing yourself and all of that. It has to do. So like there are so many memories I can link back to that are like that was drilled into my head. No, first of all, mercy. No wonder I feel like I have this belief. That's, I tend to also be like, that's bad. Don't have that. Fix it. Well, no wonder I do, right? So I don't know if this is helpful for our listeners to hear all of this, but so many of us, I think, in our art have been told by our parent that you over and over, it's just been instilled that you can't be an artist. You have to get be a real person, and then maybe you can enjoy your art. Or maybe it's been instilled like that you're bad at whatever you feel good about. No, I want to just say like no wonder you are struggling with accepting success in that department, and even if success is making something, because no wonder if you've had that belief over you systematically, like capitalism doesn't love an artist. Right?
Yep.
So if we're starting to process that stuff, then okay, I go back to being in my aunt's house who passed away recently and having my mom, the first couple times I went over, she would always have like all these snacks and stuff that I could like, and she wanted me to ask for it. Like not in a weird way,
Your
but
aunt
like,
wanted you to ask for it?
yeah, like just come to the house and have whatever you want. But mom was like, don't,
Oh.
because we don't want to be like needing stuff because we're poor. Like we ate literally starch and eggs. It was like for my whole first grade, I think every meal that wasn't at the cafeteria was rice, eggs, or potatoes. So like when I went to my aunt's house, I had chips, but I couldn't ask. So if I go back with that person, the belief is we're poor, right? How do I walk through that? I don't know. I wasn't prepared.
I mean, maybe that is true, but what are your beliefs about being poor? Do you feel like people who have money are more valuable and are allowed to take up more space and have desires, whereas people who don't have money, is the belief that people
Maybe
who
that you like don't deserve if you're poor. I would love for this to be a soundbite from the show, just like by itself. If you're poor, you don't deserve to have things. That's just please
honestly,
don't
dear
edit.
listener.
Yeah, please don't edit that out. Maybe that's the belief.
Yeah.
Like, because the funny thing is, just a side note about that memory. My aunt, I thought she was rich. Like she had chips and cookies, and she had a whole room of movies. Like
Wow.
she collected movies, and you could go in the movie room and pick out a movie. My aunt lived in a trailer park and drove an old, terrible car, but her nails always looked really nice because she learned how to do them herself. But in my mind, my aunt was rich because she had chips and movies and really cool nails. So it's perspective too. Just
Mhm.
saying. I think that's kind of fun. So if you're poor, you don't deserve to have the things you want,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Do you know the kid, cuz I'm sure you knew kids who in your perception were not poor, who had money.
Mhm.
So they deserved what more than you?
I don't know. I guess like whatever they wanted.
Mhm. Like if
Like
could they
they
ask for
deserved
things?
to have what they wanted. Yeah.
Okay. They deserve to have what they wanted, but you, because you didn't have money, did not deserve that.
Mhm. But I had
So,
to figure out a way to spin it to make that because I was better than them. So anyway,
right.
I was suffering the most, and that is Christianity.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I think it's, if you were to walk through those memories with little Emily
Mhm.
and, the idea of, hey, you're poor, so you don't deserve to have what you want comes up.
Mhm.
And she goes, yeah, I'm poor, so I don't deserve to have what I want. What are you going to help her understand she can replace that with?
Mhm.
What would you tell her?
I think it's complicated, isn't it? Because in my like let's say in this case my mom, so I'm thinking about our listeners processing this stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh in this case, I think it would be easy for us to just get mad at whoever in that story is the villain.
Yeah,
In this case, my mom is the villain because she is trying to tell me not to like and make me worry about what people will think about me and all that stuff. I think it's easy to villainize your teacher that told you that thing or your dad that was like so cruel about this thing. I think it's possible to be empathetic toward that character of a person,
absolutely.
see why they like where did that come from for them
Mm-hmm.
and say like even though you're poor, you still deserve good things. And maybe right now this person can't see that because they are in a place where they're trying to protect you or I mean in most cases like our parent that told us we're bad at something or told us we couldn't make a living doing our art or whatever was literally just trying to in their mind protect us from
Absolutely.
being disappointed or from being poor
Mm-hmm.
because maybe they grew up poor. So like and having that belief. So like I think a better belief for me would be like maybe you don't have as much money as you'd like to have, but you still deserve success and good things and a chip. Um
Yeah.
you still deserve a chip
Yeah.
without having to show your butthole.
That's right. Yeah. There's
There's
no
another clip.
there's no shame in going after what you want. There's no
Mhm.
shame in asking
Mhm.
and saying, yeah. But I understand too, because like thinking about your mom, um, like she's got a little version of her that has
Mhm.
picked up things.
Mhm.
She's a 60 something year old,
70
70
something.
something year old lady
What
now,
a
but
babe.
she's got little her,
Mhm.
just like every single person, that's told us things that have been harmful, they've got that little person inside of them. And they probably heard things from their parents who also have little versions of them.
Mhm.
And it's
And other little hurt people that made that happen. Yeah. I
that's
mean,
right.
so your people
Mhm.
in your scenario, those other kids
Mhm.
saying that stuff to you. who was saying that to them?
Totally.
Like so one thing I really liked from the chapter this week was Audacity.
Yes.
So talent is less than like Audacity. And I think our little babe selves, and I think probably our listener babe selves, if we were talked out of something, it's because we had audacity. As children, especially, we had the audacity to believe that our opinions were valuable, that we were talented, and that we could do anything. And you know what's threatening to people? Audacity.
Yep.
I love the word because it's like the audacity.
yes.
It's bad, but it's so good. And I think for me, something that has not quite been killed is I have the audacity still, even though I'm trying to beat the shit out of it. I still have the audacity to believe that I could make something that's pretty fucking cool.
Yep.
So like, I love that. And I think that for me could be a fun thing to think about when I'm walking little lady through trauma. You know?
Yep.
Is like, but we still have audacity.
Yes.
And could we not talk that little gal and our current little gal out of that?
Yep. I love that. I just see you talking to little you and being like, we're going to have the audacity to ask for chips. We're going to have the audacity to be loud and bossy to people. And we'll learn, like, we'll refine that skill. That'll turn into some kind of leadership, something or other. But like, for right now, let's just be 7. And 7-year-olds don't have that yet. They don't have that refined, ability to be like, oh, let's channel this into leadership. Right now, we're just going to be 7.
Yeah.
And 7-year-olds are brash. Some can be loud, audacious. And maybe we just let ourselves be that.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
It is.
The audacity.
The audacity. Oh, I love it. So let's be like, let's figure out ways to encourage our little selves and our big selves to be more audacious, because we can. We can create that safe environment in which audacity is okay and it's encouraged. Emily, you are a peach
You're a
for
peach.
going here with me today. I didn't even warn you. And
I'm like, oh, we're going to process deep childhood trauma for other people to listen to? Okay, great. Let's go.
Emily and I.
The audacity.
I know, right? Thanks for being a peach and coming along on the ride with me. And I am very grateful. And I'm super, super grateful that you are an inspiration to me all the time about how to get what you want. Even though you had messages when you were a kid that were like, no, you can't ever have what you want. You consistently, whether you know it or not, example for me what that looks like. To be like, I'm going to like, you are a very audacious person, whether you believe it or not. So
thank you. Can you imagine though, like with as audacious, it feels like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. With as audacious as I am, I really appreciate that compliment. It means a lot to me. Can you imagine what would have happened if I hadn't, like, if that wildfire had not been like buckets of water poured on for years? What would have happened? Like, I don't know if I would have just, again, with the black and white, would I've just turned into like a full on psycho, like self-obsessed crazy person? Or would I have like a multi-million-dollar company by now? I can't even think about it. Let's start now. Anyway, okay.
No, I mean, I think that you were exactly who you were supposed to be. I think you are exactly where you need to be and who you're supposed to be now. And I can't wait to see you just continually blow my hair back with
Well,
the things that you do and the
same.
number one, the person that you are, because it's not about what you do that makes you valuable or how much money that you have. It is super, super rooted in the cool person that you are. So
Thanks.
yep.
And all of that back at you.
Thanks.
Really. It's true. It's true about you. And you know what?
Hmm.
It's true about you, dear listener.
That's right.
You are who you are supposed to be. Let's heal some childhood trauma.
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and make our things. Let's have the audacity.
Yes, let's do it. All right, dear listener, have such a wonderful week. And remember, please, 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 no matter what you do, don't forget to be audacious.
Honestly, dear listener.